Right, yes, yeah. Good morning, and let's start. So, in the last session, what we have seen, we briefly discussed about networking basics, right? So, what is your class A, class B, class C, and how things will work in on-premise, right? And how you will configure your IP address ranges, or I would say how you will segregate the subnets for your day-to-day operations. Let's say if you are working in any office, or if you have multiple offices across the globe and you're setting up a network for your organization, how this will be calculated, and how you will segregate the IP addresses or segregate the subnets based on your usage, right? So that we have seen briefly. And in today's session, what we will do, we'll try and talk about AWS basics. When I say AWS basics, so let me go back to the course content once. Okay. Right. So far, what we talked about, your introduction to cloud computing, and then your on-premise and cloud differences. Okay, how your on-premise looks like. When it comes to cloud, how your cloud infrastructure looks like, that we will cloud basics that we will discuss today, and then you'll see IP addressing and subnetting, what we covered yesterday. Right, so that is sorted. So in today's session, we'll try and cover your AWS regions and your infrastructure isolations and stuff, how this works. That we will briefly discuss part of your AWS journey. So before we go ahead and start discussing about something, okay. So first thing is enroll for yourself into AWS portal. So how to? Pretty simple. Go to console.aws.amazon.com. Right. So create an account for yourself. More of self-explanatory, right? Give please provide your username and email ID and password and sign up. Once that is done, it will ask you to set up your, say, I don't have any new email ID in order to set up because all the email IDs already exhausted. I need to create a new email ID and then create a new account. But you guys can try this one, right? So once you subscribe to or sign up to AWS portal, right, you will get a free trial or a free account where you will see some of the resources are free for 1 year. When I say some of the resources are free for 1 year, okay, let's talk about that. So once you enroll it, register with your email ID, and then set up your payment method. Okay, how to set up your payment method? Let's see. So if I go back to log in into my account, once you log in for the first time, go to your billing dashboard. Right. So payment methods. You can add your payment method here. So you can add your card, additional card if you want, and you can remove the existing one. But if you don't have any card at the first time, so you need to provide at least one card for your billing enablement. So in that case, what you have to make sure is, let's say I gave my billing address so and so, right? Whatever the card that you are providing, the card billing address and your provided address must be same. Sometimes what they will do, randomly they will validate these things in the backend, your payment gateway systems, and if it address is not matching, they will not enable the account for your, let's say, personal usage or stuff. Okay, this is kind of a personal usage account how you can set up, for your personal learning purposes. If you are working for any organization, that is different story. Okay, so you will get your organization account, you will be invited into your organization account, and then you will see whatever the permissions that you have been allocated with, you'll be able to perform certain rules. That's a different story. But this this kind of a payment method setup, it is for your personal usage. Now, whenever you log into your account, what is the first thing you need to make sure? Your account ID. Okay, so if something is to be tracked, you will be tracked using your account ID. Okay, this is one unique account ID. Now, under this account, you can, if you can see, you are open to access, let's say 300 plus AWS services. You are open to access. Right? You got the account and you got the payment method set up, and moreover, this payment is pay as you go. It's a Azure term. Okay, but what it means? Okay. So monthly invoice based on your usage. Correct? Now that will be hourly price. It's whatever the price that is calculated, it will be hourly price for your account that you have to pay in every month. That is done. So once account is activated, you will be able to access all the 300 plus services which are running in AWS provided to the customer. Okay, now let me go back. Services, analytics, you have many. Application integration, right? And AR and audio and visual, I think. And then your cost management, and similarly, let's say compute and so on. You have a lot of these services, and you will be able to access everything. Now, what I need to consider before I start deploying something in AWS is, I need to understand, the third point is AWS regions and availability zones. Okay, what do you mean by region and what do you mean by availability zone? Right. So that, let's consider you have your on-premise, say ABC company, right? It has some remote offices, office 1, India, UK, Singapore, let's say US, right? And so on. You have some offices. Now, you do have a data centers, DC1 or DC in US, and you'll have a US2 primary, secondary, right? And you have another DC data center in UK, another DC in, let's say, Europe. These two are primary, secondary, and these two are primary, secondary. Now, considering the yesterday's discussion, what kind of IP ranges that you want to give it to these offices or these remote customer data centers? Let's say 10.1.0.0/16, just for our understanding, right? And then 10.2.0.0/16, 3.00/16, like this. Each and every data center is equipped with a different IP ranges. So 10.101 for this office, right? Like this, I have multiple IP ranges allocated. And if you see, all the data centers and offices are running with unique IP range as per the notation. Now, all these things are interconnected, right? In fact, they have one-on-one mapping with every other site. I'm just representing as a one single private entity. Over everything is under private network. Means what? If you are sitting in this office, okay, you can reach out to this or this, any of the data center servers without any additional configuration, because it's all connected together in a private network. And you can also talk to one of the server which is sitting in this US office server room. You can be able to access it over the private network. And that means over 10 dot series, you will be able to access, like in your home, how you will access the internet or devices within your private network 192.168. It is similar to that, but it's across the globe. Okay. And you have multiple offices, multiple data centers, all connected together. How? With the help of your internet and your site to site VPN. These two are main things which will allow you to connect these offices together. Okay. Now, if I'm not coming to office, what I'll do, I'll work from home. So I have an opportunity to connect to this VPN or to this VPN or to any other VPN if a company is allowed to log in, right? At least this VPN I can connect, and then I'll be able to perform my operations. Now, I'm saying company has decided to shut down these two data centers, and they decided to go into Azure. Why? Primary will stay here. Primary will stay here. It's just as a pilot project. Secondary and secondary data centers, I want to completely migrate onto AWS. So where you will migrate in AWS? Getting my point? So in that case, as a prerequisite, what we need to understand what AWS offers at first stage. Then we can think of, okay, how we migrate, what things we need to make sure in order to migrate, how you will establish connectivity between your on-premise this organization, and how you will integrate your AWS with this on-premise. All these things will come into picture one by one, one by one. But at first stage, what we need to understand, if organizations decided these two should go away, you need to identify right location for your business inside the AWS. So what do you mean by right location? Because you are saying you have your own data center and you are facing some sort of challenges in maintaining those data centers. That can be your own data center or third party co-location data centers or anything as such. But you are saying you are not able to handle or making money out of your own data centers. You are happy to go on to AWS. But if you are not maintaining your data center, someone else has to maintain that, right? So who is maintaining in our case? AWS is going to maintain their data centers. We are going to use them remotely via cloud services. How we will use those services? We have these four things, no? PaaS, SaaS, DaaS, reverse recovery as a service, right? So your cloud vendor will offer services in the following four ways. Now you have to select the right one for your business. Okay. Anyway, you are going to select any of these. Before you're selecting any of these, you need to decide on which location. So in order to provide these services to global customers, as AWS has to maintain the data centers in the backend. So those data centers, we call it as region. Okay, what do you mean by region here? Is simple geolocation. How many locations that AWS is operating? If I go back to home, or if I go back to home, AWS is operating in these following locations at the moment. What are these locations? US, 4 locations, Africa 1, and Asia, you have around 8 locations, right? And then Canada, Europe, and then your Middle East again, and South America. Right? These are the maximum locations what we have currently, and in future they might come up with the new regions, I would say. So each location I'll call it as a region. Okay, so region is what do you mean by region? AWS regions and availability zones. Region is your geolocation. So when I say geolocation, say US -east -1. That is the geolocation, the logical identification of your one of the region. Means what? It is where it is located. It is located in North Virginia. Make sense? So first thing, this is, let's say, west side of your states, and this is east side of the states. Then if I want to shut down this, I need to go on to the east side of in geographically, I need to go on to east side of the data centers. One of the data center is your US East one. Technically, what we call it as region in AWS. Clear? So now this region is located in so and so city. Availability zones are 6. local zones are 10. Means what? Availability zones and local zones. So let's talk about availability zones. So within the AWS, you have one region. One region means, as I mentioned, geolocation within the AWS. Now, in that city or in that region, what they are doing, they're actually having six different buildings. Like this, they have six different buildings. Okay, so logically, what we call it as US hyphen East hyphen 1A. One B, 1C. Right, 1E, 1F. Okay, right. So what do you mean by these notations? These, what we technically call it as availability zones. Okay, so let's go to AWS regions. Um, AWS availability zones. Let's check the images once. US hyphen East hyphen 1. I'm trying to figure it out some images. Okay, so let's say AWS data center, I would say. Yeah. Okay, just for our reference, if I want to rotate, if you consider this whole thing as AWS US East 1, which is one of the region, consider this as 1A and 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, 1F. Getting my point? Getting my point? So what happens if you are trying to keep your resources in a multiple buildings? Each building has its own power supply. Okay, so if you look at the basic things, so each building has own power supply. When I say own power supply, it's a dedicated power supply, network, and cooling. Okay, that means building 1 is equipped with these three components. in our example, let's say Mumbai has a data center, right? So Mumbai has, let's say, 3 buildings or 6 buildings. For one building, I will take a power supply from Tata. For other building, I'll take a power supply from Maharashtra government. And for another building, I'll take a power supply from, let's say, uh, some other local vendor, let's say Adani Powers. Example, right? So similarly, in this case, if you have a 6 different buildings, one may be a green energy, another can be local power supply vendor, and so on. So that if something goes wrong, at least if one building goes down, I have some other services running on all the other 5 buildings. Getting my point? So that is the reason you will see these buildings are segregated and keep it separate. And if you see the power supply, cooling, and your networking connectivity and all has a separate entity or isolated entities, I would say. Now, in the backend, all these things are connected together. Okay, when I say all these things connected together, all these zones, they are interconnected. Okay, so why they need to interconnect? Imagine if I am placing one server here, EC2 VM1, which is one of the prod web server, okay, up and running from last 365 days without any issue. Now, all of a sudden, if this building gone and they took 2 days to recover the whole building, are you ready to face 2 days of downtime on your production web server? No, right? So what you are trying to achieve, at least if this machine can start here or at least here after 15 or 30 minutes, fine. If it is started from here, I will try to access the services from this side, from the other building within the same city, so that at least my business will continue to flow. And if there are any issues happening on the back end, customer won't get impacted. So that is one reason behind having multiple zones, and each zone we call it as one independent building. It can be on the same street or it can be on the extreme corners in the city. Based on the availability, they will connect all these things together in the backend with some dark fiber, okay, or let's say fiber connectivity, so that data replication will happen so fast and the customers won't see any impact even if something goes wrong. Okay, so in short, if you're trying to move away from your traditional data center, you need to select your right location for your business, which is my region, and it contains 6 buildings in this particular region. That doesn't mean every location has 6 buildings. No. So this East US has 6 buildings, and we call it as availability zones. In other regions, if I go to other regions,
So all the availability zones will be interconnected, right?
within the region, yes, they are interconnected.
Oh,
Okay, and other zones. See, you have in the North California, US West, North California, US West. In this region, you'll have only 3 buildings, 3 zones. And US West, there is another region called Horizon. in this, you have 4 buildings, and so on. For each and every location, the number of availability zones will vary based on the business requirement and based on the customer demand. Let's say if I go to Asia and is Mumbai, it is running with 3 buildings. Let's say people are demanding for 6 buildings. If AWS is not making money from Mumbai, why they will keep 6 different buildings unnecessarily, right? It's all depending upon how much business that you are making out of from that particular region. Based on that, they will scale up that particular, what I'll say, region based on the customer growth and revenue growth. You'll see keep on adding the zones. Okay, or maybe sometimes you will see regions will also get added in some of those countries, but majority of the cases you will see zones will keep on increasing whenever the business grows. So in short, you will see these things will getting updated over the period of, let's say, 2 years or 3 years or so. So what do you mean by edge locations then? This is fine. So when I'm saying region, I have one region called Mumbai. Technically, I'll call it as AP South 1. That is a technical region name. In that, I have 3 zones. It's completely understandable. So, what do you mean by edge locations here? So, the blue circles showing as edge locations. What do you mean by region and what do you mean by edge location? Anybody? Maybe Shiva, Wasim. Any thought on this?
So data will get catchy. It will get catched in the edge location.
Okay, so let's say if I have a data center in Mumbai, but one of my customer is in Chennai. So they're users are accessing these services from Chennai and they want some fastness while accessing those services. So if it is like a database server or application server or any sort of other servers, what you can do, you can simply set up a site-to-site VPN from your office, which is in Chennai, and try to access the resources from Chennai itself. So when you log in, you're logging into your servers which are hosted in Mumbai region. But thing is, I have my end users who are accessing my web services. Okay, the one of the website the people are accessing, the majority of the users are from Chennai. They keep on accessing the same websites throughout the day. Let's say a million visits in a day for the same website. Now, if you are keeping your website in Mumbai and accessing end users are sitting in Chennai, you will always see that latency between the region and your end user location. Just to minimize that gap, there is a concept called your content delivery network, CDN. Okay, so what CDN will do? Okay, CDN will cache the data from your specific region and try to serve it from your nearby location. So that nearby locations, what we call it as edge locations. We will test this when we are talking about CDN. Okay, in AWS, the technical word is CloudFront. When you are testing the CloudFront, I will show you how that will improve the performance whenever you're trying to host the let's say a money making website from AWS, then you'll definitely see people are using edge locations. Any example for edge location? Let me show you. Flipkart. Open image in a new tab. Let's see. This is one of the URL that I'm trying to access, right? Copy this URL. and NS lookup. So let's go to DNS. Let's check the DNS. You will see akamaiedge.net. What do you mean by Akamai Edge? Content delivery. What is Akamai Edge? Largest distributed computing platform, right? Edge location, edge network will be maintained by Akamai here for Flipkart case. Similarly, AWS also has its own edge locations deployed across the globe, right, to serve AWS customers better using AWS own technology called your CloudFront. Okay, maybe it is using the services, shared services backend from Akamai and Verizon, right? These are the two vendors who will supply these things that we will practically see down the line when we talk about your CDN and other stuff. Okay, so for now, what we need to understand, whatever the regions that we are talking about, those regions are physical data centers located in the respective geographical areas, and those data centers might be equipped with one building or a three buildings or a six buildings based on the customer demand. In our case, our prime focus majorly, whatever the testing that we do, we will test it in your North Virginia. So for lab purposes, I'm talking about. So in North Virginia, as I mentioned, you will have six different buildings, and consolidately all these things, what we call it as geolocation, which is called technically a region. Make sense? Any questions on this? Right. So now you have got your account, you have identified your region, and you're trying to replicate this from on-premise to one of the AWS location called your region, one of this region called US East 1. You want to migrate your services from on-premise. Now, how you will set up those things in your cloud? So first thing first, in your on-premise, you have this network topology. You need to extend this network topology to AWS. How you can do that? How you can do that? You need to understand AWS networking, correct? In order to set up, you need to understand AWS networking in order to set up your infrastructure. Why? Why we need to focus on the networking at the first place? Why can't we talk about EC2 instances? Why can't we talk about Lambda functions? Why can't we talk about your developer tools, code commit, okay, CI/CD pipelines, all those things at first stage? Why we need to focus on networking? Any thought process? Anyone?
Because the AWS provide a public IP address, but in our organization we are using private IP addresses.
Okay.
So we have to aware of the AWS net.
Okay, in a way, correct. Okay, let me put in this way. Imagine you have, forget about technical. Okay, you have 3 cents of land, right? And you want to construct a home. What you will do? First, you will start with the basement, right? You start with the basement. and your pillars, walls, slab. Right? Let's start with your basement, pillars, wall, slab, and then once everything is done, finally your interiors. Agree? Now, which are the things that you can change it easily? If you don't like something, you can buy a new thing and simply change it. If you don't like painting, you can simply change it. If you don't like a sofa, you can simply change it. If you don't like something, you can simply change it. What cannot be changed is your basement, okay, and your walls, pillars, slab will never change. Right? Now, what if you got adjacent land of 5 cents with half price? Half price. Still, the problem is you can't move your base from here to here. Can you move your home by 10 inches after constructing? You can move your interior anywhere in the home, but you can't move your base from half inch. Right? So now consider your base as your network in your IT, okay, and your walls and your slab, everything, your storage and your servers. They also cannot be changed on the fly. You need to make some adjustment. Okay, at least let's say you want to extend the slab a little bit. First of all, you need to break down something on the front, on the edges, and you need to tie up with the iron rods and then extend the slab. Otherwise, you won't be able to move it even an inch, right? So I'll consider your pillars and slabs are your storage and servers, and inside the home, whatever the interiors that we're talking about, these are all your services in the sense, let's say your database service, your app service like lambda functions, right, your monitoring services and so on. Let's say today you like dynatrace as a monitoring tool. Okay boss, I don't like this. Tomorrow I want to buy Prometheus. I want to use Prometheus. Okay, use it. What's wrong with that? So same server, same network, same everything. You will uninstall the application. You will install the new application. Or what you will do, you will remove the VM. You will create a new VM and start installing the Prometheus. What is not changing? Your network is not changing all the time. What is not changing? Your physical servers are not changing all the time. Correct? So let's consider your network as a base. If you can set your base correctly, you will never end up with the issues in a longer run. If your basement is having some adjustments and tweakings and stuff, you will always end up with the runtime issues in your customer environment. I hope I'm explaining in the right way. If you guys have any questions, I can help you with. Right? So my thought process is we need to start learning the stuff in this way. One is networking at first stage, and computing, which is EC2 in our AWS, storage, which is S3, and so on, other associated services, and then data protection, which is your backup and recovery, as well as BCDR, business continuity and disaster recovery. That is your fourth topic. And then your security, which is your IAM and other security tools which provided by AWS. And then we will talk about PaaS databases, PaaS applications, which is Lambda and all, right? And then we'll talk about your migrations from on-prem to AWS. Then we'll talk about microservices like Docker slash EKS, and then your DevOps overview, which is CI CD, and then your IAC, which is your Terraform slash CloudFormation at the end. Okay, and at last, your project overview. This on a high level, these are the things I will try to cover in our training. So part of that, this I'll take, let's say, 10 sessions. That doesn't mean I'll completely focus on networking all the time. No, we will also deploy the servers. We will also talk about high HS solutions like load balancer, application load balancer, WAF, and so on, all the high level security and stuff within this 10 sessions. And then I'll not spend much time, maybe 3 to 4 sessions I'll spend on EC2. And again, 3 to 4 sessions I'll spend on storage, right? And then your data protection and business recovery, maybe one long session. Security, I would need at least 4 sessions. Databases, 5 to 6 sessions I need, including your past databases, SQL, okay, MySQL, and then your Oracle, and then your MariaDB, so on, so on. So past applications. So at least 2 sessions I need in order to explain. Migrations, 3 long sessions or at least 2 long sessions. One is server migration, another one is your database migration. Microservices, again, it's kind of an overview, will not go in depth and train you entire Docker. Entire Docker will take at least 15 hours. Entire Kubernetes will take at least 15 hours. So at least 2 long sessions I'll try and focus on AWS EKS and microservices. CI/CD will try and talk about 3 sessions. Okay, what is an overview and kind of setting up a pipeline and testing the pipeline. We'll try and focus on that. And CloudFormation template and Terraform, at least 4 sessions we'll try and focus on this. Project overview is the last session. Okay, so whatever the course content that I've referred here, you can break them down and see what all the services that we are talking about. 14 modules, I consolidated into 12, and that comes under 40 days. Okay, some of the sessions are too lengthy, or some of the sessions are too short, right? So some of the sessions, when I say too lengthy, maybe 2 hours or 1.5 hours, right? All the it's gonna take, and some of the sessions may finish in 1 hour, depends, right? So that's the overall plan, and we need to start our networking journey on AWS at first. Okay, so before we talk about any of these things, if you guys have any questions, anything I can help you with. Otherwise, we'll start with the networking side of things. Shiva, you good? You're able to understand, or any questions?
No, sir, I am able to understand.
Sorry?
Yeah, I'm able to understand.
Okay, no. Yeah. Sharon, you good?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, it's going good. I'm able to understand.
Right. So what I'll do is I'll try to give you some introductory on AWS day-to-day lab setup, right? So once you set up your account, right, whatever the sessions that we run will run on hands-on mode, like how we do the day-to-day activities in your day-to-day operations side in your organization. So we'll try to set up a lab in such a way that within that 1 hour we'll try to manage whatever the resources that we're going to deploy. So consider your billing is hourly basis, right? So my request for everyone is start practicing right, in AWS, and once done, please delete everything what you deployed. Okay, yes. Why? Because let's say you deployed one server today, and after that you went on a vacation for a whole week. And if you forget to delete and come back and check, you will see $100 billing for a month. Right? Who will pay that bill? You have to by your own. Getting my point? So never ever forget deleting resources after your practice is done, because I've seen occasions where people come back to me and asking why this is not informed earlier. We thought free account is enabled, so it's free. We kept it as it is, and we don't know our credit card bill is automatically debiting every month. After 6 months, we realized that 20,000 got deducted from last 6 months. Okay, it happened in few occasions for few people. So just on a friendly note, keep in mind whenever you do a practice, please delete everything what you deployed, because you are not making any money out of it. You are investing your time to learn technical things here. Okay, that's one point. And the second one is when people are saying free account, one thing what we need to understand is nothing is free in this world. Even AWS is not giving anything for free. So just for your learning purposes, AWS is giving one of the server, which is T2 Micro. Please make a note. T2 Micro is free for 12 months. But every month you will get 730 hours free. If you combine 730 hours free, and if you combine all the 730 hours, you'll get 1 month. Now, in that case, if condition is the terms and conditions, right? If you deploy one server, then 730 hours free. If you deploy two servers, then by half, means 365 hours free, and other 365 hours chargeable. Getting my point? If you deploy two servers, your bill become your free hours become a half, and 15 days it's free. After 15 days, you will see bill will be added to your account. So please keep this in mind. And it is applicable for all the components, right? So how to check that out? Say AWS free tier limits. $12 months free. Okay, type of offers. Free trials, 12 months free, always free. Okay. So what is free? In compute, 750 hours. I've kept it as 730 for safer side. Windows, Linux, whatever the machines, but you need to deploy only T2 micro or T3 micro is, I doubt. Okay, some of the accounts will not be enabled with T3 micro. And similarly, you can save up to 5 GB of storage in a month for free in your storage account. If you go beyond that, it is chargeable. And database also, you can deploy one of the database with the specified size. Okay, you can't go beyond 20 GB. You can't go beyond, let's say, 2 CPU and other stuff. But your 750 hours in a month, it's free. That too, T2 micro database. T2 micro database, if you deploy it, if you want to connect to the database, you have to do yoga because it will never connect, right? With the T2 micro, one CPU, 1 GB memory, we can't run the database. But what they are giving here is just for testing purpose. If you want to create something, it's free. Okay, it's up to you whether you want to use it or you want to pay and buy the higher configurations for your testing needs. Similarly, 25 GB DynamoDB. DynamoDB is another RDS kind of a database. That's 25 GB is free. And machine learning, it is out of our scope, but yeah, if you want to check it out, if you have any prior experience, that is 2 months machine learning free. Lambda function, you can execute 1 million requests in a month for free. So it is considers you can execute 1 million transactions on top of your Lambda function and up to 3.2 milliseconds execution. So if you're running a large application, it is taking 5 minutes to execute, then there will be a charge applicable for that. And similarly, you have a lot more services. Each and every service is clearly mentioned here, which is free, how long it is free, and what mode of service it is free. So let's see, database migration service, 1 month free, T2 micro again, right? And then your key management service. So your key management is your password tracker or your authentication passwords tracker within the AWS. It is free for 20,000 requests in a month. If it is going beyond that, then you have to pay. So what I'll do is I'll share this article. Yeah, I'll kept it here itself. In case if you want to access this board down the line, you can refer this article here. Okay, so please keep in mind, whenever people are saying it's free for 1 year, it is not at all free. So there are certain limitations. You can't run your production application for free whole time for 730 hours because when the people are saying it's free, there is no SLA associated. Okay, what do you mean by SLA? Your service level agreement is not associated with the free resources. That is one thing we need to keep in mind, right? So with this, what I'll do is I'll pause here for today, and tomorrow what we will do, we'll start with our networking testing from tomorrow onwards. Make sense? If you have any questions or any sort of queries, I can help you with now. No, all good. Right then, so I'll consider as everything is good. So we haven't discussed much on the technical side today, but yeah. So from tomorrow onwards, we can talk about networking in detail and do a lab testing tomorrow. Okay, and then so I'll stop the recording here and